Hello there guys and welcome, it is Niren here and today it is time for me to bring you another episode of our F1 2016 career mode with Renault. I do apologise for how long it's been since the last episode, it's been about 5 or 6 days I think now. It's back from a summer break though and we are here in Germany for the Hockenheim ring, and we are in Germany and a German team known as Mercedes have gone all out with their upgrades to now pull away from Ferrari, and they're going to need to do that when it comes to the vehicle comparison chart because at the moment Sebastian Vettel is running away with the championship for Ferrari, so Mercedes need to come back at him, and more specifically Lewis Hamilton, because Nico Rosberg's already had a shocking start to the season. But I'm sure you guys have seen the results in previous episodes. There's been some absolutely crazy races so far, so if you haven't seen it so far, a link to the playlist will be in the description and you can check out the last race, which was of course at Hungary, a very interesting race there as well. There's been some just astonishing races all season, to be quite honest with you, and let's hope that this one is yet another one. Going into practice though, and it is full wet conditions for our practice track acclimatization program. We're coming around the final corner though to absolutely smash the target score, and we even beat the purple one on the first attempt. We're also going to get some team objectives complete as well down the left hand side, as you can see. Fuel saving, clean lap, and I think we even get another one done, or do we only get 2 done, something like that. Across the whole practice sessions though, we did manage to get every single team objective done. So we've done a very good job in terms of resource points already so far this weekend. Now we're embarking on getting some more with the qualifying pace program. You can see that we're in P6 at the moment in qualifying, just ahead of Alonso and just behind, not qualifying, in practice, just ahead of Alonso and just behind Massa, which is a pretty decent place to be, you know, ahead of McLaren but just behind Williams. You know, the Williams car is the third best on the grid at the moment in terms of the vehicle comparison chart. Coming across the line though, and we actually beat the target time by 0.8 of a second, and yet again with our first attempt we get 50 resource points on a practice program. 50 points for track acclimatization, 50 for qualifying pace, and also a decent amount when it comes to team objectives, getting all 5 of our team objectives done. So we're now on to 570 resource points, which means we can afford a reduction in drag upgrade for Belgium and Monza, which will make us a lot quicker in a straight line. It makes a lot of sense around a power track like those two. Nevertheless, we'll have to see how those upgrades do for us in the next 2 rounds. Before we get into that or the race here in Germany, let's have a little look at the qualifying report. Nico Rosberg led the way in the first session of the day in front of his home crowd. It wasn't such a good day for another fan favourite, as Nico Hülkenberg was knocked out in Q1 in 18th, along with Romain Grosjean in the Haas. Q2 saw Lewis Hamilton fastest ahead of the 2 Ferrari cars. It was an excellent session for Yusufu and Perez, who both made it into Q3, but Daniel Ricciardo was knocked out early again. He'll start 12th, just ahead of both McLarens. Q3 saw another shock as Kimi Raikkonen grabbed pole ahead of both of the Mercedes cars. Felipe Massa and Daniel Kvyat did well in 5th and 6th, while Sebastian Vettel could manage only 7th at his home Grand Prix. So all of this means that Kimi Raikkonen will start on pole for the 2016 German Grand Prix ahead of Nico Rosberg, the home favourite, on the first row. Lewis Hamilton will start 3rd in the other Mercedes ahead of Max Verstappen, who once again outperformed his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Felipe Massa and Daniel Kvyat will share row 3, very good qualifying for both of those, while Sebastian Vettel, the championship leader, is down in 7th only. Sergio Perez took 8th with Valtteri Bottas in 9th, Yusufu in a strong 10th for Renault, Sainz missed out on Q3 in 11th, whilst it's a disappointing 12th for Ricciardo. So he seemed to be in decent form nowadays when it comes to qualifying. This was an all-dry session though in comparison to a lot of the rounds beforehand. We've had a lot of wet weather sort of qualifying running in the last few rounds. This time it was all dry and we managed to put ourselves into Q3 and on 10th place on the grid. We actually got beaten though by Sergio Perez when it came to the rivalry, so it's looking a little bit closer between ourselves and him, but we should still be able to win that rivalry comfortably this weekend. You can also see our race goals in the background. Our race goal in terms of an objective is to finish 10th or higher in the race, to beat our rival Sergio Perez, and also to beat our teammate Kevin Magnussen as per usual. Hoping for more from Magnussen as well. He's starting to get the odd point here and there at this point in the series because our car is now decent. We're actually better than Force India and McLaren these days, and actually sort of closing down on the teams above that as well. the likes of Toro Rosso, Red Bull, and maybe even Williams. I don't know about that by the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see how much more development we can actually do on the car and where we'll end up in terms of the vehicle comparison chart. It's Kimi Raikkonen though on pole for this Grand Prix here in Germany. Unlike his teammate Sebastian Vettel, he had a very good qualifying session. Vettel down in 7th place for his home Grand Prix. In the background there you can see the race strategy. You'll have seen in the background that it's light rain on the track, so Inter's conditions at the start, but look at that. We've even got flipping monsoon conditions at the end. This weather forecast is all over the place. It's going to be raining slightly at the start, it's then going to dry out, and then it's going to be light rain, heavy rain, and then a full-on flipping flood here in Hockenheim for the final part of the race. I've never even seen that logo. I didn't even know that was a weather condition. I don't even know what it stands for. I'm going to assume it's either stormy conditions or monsoon conditions. No lightning bolt coming out of it, so I don't know if it's a storm, but whatever it is, it probably signifies very heavy rain and will definitely, surely, be on the full wets at the end of the race. Nevertheless, we have embarked on our formation lap. We actually passed Bottas on it, but of course, it doesn't matter for the start of the race. We are P10 on the grid. We've got our rival Sergio Perez directly in front of us, and we've got Daniel Ricciardo, who had another poor qualifying directly behind us in P12. The lights are now starting to illuminate for round number 12 of the Formula 1 2016 season, and we are underway here in Germany. It's been an okay start to this Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel has though gone awful start. Bottas has gone past him, Perez has gone past him, and now we're going up the inside as well. We managed to sneak up the inside of Valtteri Bottas too in that Williams, and now it's Daniel Kvyat and Sergio Perez directly in front of us. Perez is trying to get up the inside of Verstappen and make it 3 abreast. We're going up the inside of Daniel Kvyat. It's all getting very, very close here on this first lap. We're up into P7, but Perez hangs us out to dry because he gets hung out to dry by Verstappen. Now we're onto the curb where there's no grip at all, no traction onto this back straight. And now we've got Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel crawling all over the back of us. Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo are present as well. And down into the hairpin, we've got a massive train of cars behind us. Magnussen is making a move on one of the McLarens in front of us. Verstappen's gone wide and it's held up Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez gets an awful exit out of the hairpin and we just about get past him. In fact, he's being swamped now by the rest of the field. I think Bottas is trying to get past him as well. Down into this left hand, and we've had a very solid start from P10 on the grid. We now find ourselves in 7th place. In the order halfway through the first lap. Verstappen and Kvyat in front of us, Massa in front of that, and then a massive train of cars as well behind them, or behind us, in these wet Inter's conditions. On to lap 3, and Felipe Massa appears to be holding up a few cars behind him, being Daniel Kvyat and Max Verstappen. Kvyat, who's had some fantastic performances this season since being controversially dropped to Red Bull in this save and in this series, and he's up in P5 as well. We though are now up into P6 because the man that replaced him at Red Bull, Max Verstappen, has been dispatched by our Renault down into the hairpin without DRS, obviously because it's wet conditions or Inter's conditions. There's no DRS. It has been disabled for these conditions on here on lap 3. On to lap 4. We're still behind Daniel Kvyat, but we're sort of just happy to sort of keep with him because he's very much sticking to the back of Massa. Massa himself is actually starting to catch Hamilton and Raikkonen in front. Raikkonen, who got pole but is struggling to keep up with the Mercedes behind him. Meanwhile, we are now making an overtake on Daniel Kvyat. Max Verstappen has gone missing completely and down into the hairpin. We're braking late and we just about tapped the back end there of Massa. Huge drift into the hairpin. Kvyat now has an opportunity to go back up the inside of us. But oh my word, making the move on Daniel Kvyat, just out-braking ourselves and almost having a big collision with Massa. Thankfully, it's only a tap, and thankfully, we don't lose any of our front wing, but we do just about hold on in front of Daniel Kvyat somehow there on lap 5. On to lap 6, it's starting to dry out quite a lot now. We've actually made a mistake down into the hairpin. We've locked up massively. We've got yellow flags out behind us. Kvyat and Verstappen, thankfully, haven't been able to capitalise on our mistake. But according to the minimap, it looks as if there's been some sort of incident down at the hairpin. Verstappen's managed to get past Daniel Kvyat, but we have got a full course safety car here in the German Grand Prix. It's the first safety car of the day, and it's come on lap 6, and it was an incident down at the hairpin, and it was caused by this. It's Valtteri Bottas. You can see here on the replay, he's got a puncture to the front left down into the hairpin, and then he stops on the track. He's got a pile-up of cars behind him. Sainz is there, Ricciardo, we've got Perez, Vettel's in there as well, and Vettel, who's trying to recover from a poor qualifying and having a poor start, and he's not doing a very good job so far. This is how it looked on board with Magnussen, just carving his way through the drivers. Same for Gutierrez in the Haas behind. Magnussen now going to try and get past Valtteri Bottas, but the Finn swerves at the last moment, and Magnussen yet again is caught out by bad luck. On to lap 6 though, and I thought it was a pretty decent time to actually come into the pit lane, because the track is going to be dry conditions soon. Because it's been drying out so much. I mentioned it a moment ago, you know, it's very much drying up. By the time the safety cars come in, it's going to be dry conditions, and I think there's a Force India coming in behind. I think he's thought of the same thing, but Verstappen and Kvyat behind us didn't go for that gamble. Obviously, at the time we came in, it wasn't dry conditions, but by the time the safety cars come in, and by the time we're actually racing again, it is going to be dry conditions. You can see in front of us we've got Jenson Button. He's still on the inters, and he's driving hideously slowly under this safety car here in the McLaren. He finally peels into the pit lane on lap 7, and we can go full beans down the home straight and into turn 1. We've got a few more cars in the pit lane. Massa's in the pit lane. Rosberg and Raikkonen are in the pit lane, and down through turn 1. Are we going to get out just ahead of Nico Rosberg? Yes, we are. Obviously, we gained quite a lot of time from pitting beforehand. We can just blitz it around the lap, and we've managed to basically severely undercut everyone by coming in onto those dry tyres when it wasn't even ready for dry tyres, but just purely by coming in a little bit before, losing a little less time under the safety car. We've managed to leapfrog Rosberg, Raikkonen and everyone else. We've caught up to Hamilton, who for some reason didn't pit on the last lap, so he's lost even more time than everyone else coming off the inters onto the softs. And we, would you believe, after that safety car, after that big strategy call, are now in the lead of the race. You can see it's very much dry tyres conditions. You know, we've not made a gamble here. It's definitely ready for dry tyres, but they are, of course, slightly more worn. And for the first time in this series, we have become the safety car. We are leading the pack, bunching them all together, and we are regulating the pace. We will put that hammer down when we decide it is fit to do so. We've got a massive pile of cars, a massive train of cars behind us. Rosberg, Raikkonen, Verstappen, Massa, all on different tyre compounds. We, though, are getting underway. We've put the hammer down, and hopefully we've managed to gap Rosberg just a little bit around this final corner. We've gone for the soft just in case we can get, you know, just one stint in before it rains again. A few guys have gone for the super soft, so they're definitely going to have to pit before it rains again. You can see that one of those drivers is Kimi Raikkonen in the Ferrari. Felipe Massa just behind him has gone for super softs as well. A few guys have gone for mediums, which is the joy, of course, of the 3 tyre compound strategy. You know, you can do absolutely anything. Myself and Rosberg have gone for something a little bit in the middle. We're not really committing to anything at this point, but we're going to try and go until it rains again. Meanwhile, we've got Raikkonen and we've got Felipe Massa. You can see from the aerial shot we have got 2 cars trying to overtake us. Massa has gone past both of us and is now going to try and go right around the outside into the hairpin. We lock up. This is fantastic racing. Rosberg's challenging Raikkonen behind, whilst Massa has managed to get around the outside of us, but we duck into the slipstream. Rosberg and Raikkonen are still alongside each other's behind. We, though, going up the inside of Felipe Massa into this left-hander. We lock up and we get the move done. We force Massa out a little bit wide, and he comes back onto the track and collects Kimi Raikkonen. And there's a bit of an incident between Raikkonen and Massa, and both of the cars on the super softs turn themselves around. It was incredible battling between everyone, myself and Massa, and then Raikkonen and Rosberg, and it's unfortunate for Massa, who went wide, came back onto the racing line, and there was just a little bit of contact between himself and Raikkonen, and it turned both of them round. I think Massa got away with only a half spin, whereas Raikkonen even. Massa got away with a half spin, whereas Raikkonen ended up spinning all the way. You can see this is how it looked on board with Massa. He comes back onto the track, but rather dangerously, and gets collected by one of the Haas cars. I think it's Esteban Gutierrez who he has the incident with, and it causes somewhat of a pile-up behind. Big damage for Massa, same for Raikkonen, I think the Haas as well. I think it was actually Grosjean, sorry, not Gutierrez. This is on board with Carlos Sainz. You can see the extent of that pile-up behind us. Vettel's in there. Bottas, after his puncture earlier, he's in there. Daniel Ricciardo, who's had a shocking race so far. Everyone getting involved in that, and it's a shame for Raikkonen and Massa because it's hurt the battle at the front a little bit. We're having a lovely, massive scramble, a massive squabble for the lead. We have still, though, got Rosberg battling us, and Rosberg's trying to make a move around the outside here, down into the hairpin. We have the inside line again, but we give him the space around the outside. We're making sure not to squeeze him off the track, and he decides to duck out of the move anyway through this quick right-hander and down into the left-hander. Rosberg might think of a move around the outside. He thinks about it, but decides against it in the end because we go defensive into the corner. You can see some front wing damage, that being, of course, due to Raikkonen, Grosjean, and, of course, Felipe Massa's incident the lap before. On to lap 13, and Rosberg's trying the same move around the outside. This time we go a little bit deep, and Rosberg can get a much better exit out of the hairpin, duck into the slipstream, and perhaps make a move down into this left-hander. He's thinking of a move around the outside. It's not going to happen through there. We'll go defensive again. Verstappen's managed to pass Kvyat behind us. Rosberg's trying to go right around the outside, but we show him to the edge of the track, and we hold on to the lead for now. We're probably not going to win this race realistically. We don't have the pace in the dry conditions to do so, but we can at least slow down the guys behind us so we have a better chance of getting a podium. Next up is Max Verstappen. It's time for him to try his luck, because Rosberg's given up. He's dropped behind Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and Verstappen's now trying to get around the outside down into the hairpin once again. We lock up once again. Verstappen trying to get around the outside again. There's not much space for the Dutchman. A little bit of contact. We throw our left hand up in the air. We're defending again. Rosberg and Kvyat are battling behind, and we do in the end hold on in front of Max Verstappen, and we hold on to the lead here on lap number 15. On to lap number 16, and a few of the guys behind us I think are going to think about a pit stop, and indeed they are. Nico Rosberg is trying the undercut on us, and with the pace that he was showing in comparison to us, I'm fairly sure that is going to work. On to lap 17, we're struggling for tyres a little bit. We're going to come in at the end of this lap. We're definitely not going to make it until it rains, so we're going to have to stick a set of super softs on and then carry on them until it rains, and then go back onto the inters and of course full wets. On to lap 17, Lewis Hamilton's behind us. We've dropped it almost there, a massive moment for ourselves. We've been hit though from behind again by Lewis Hamilton for the second round in a row. This time it causes even more problems for us. Into the gravel we go. Daniel Kvyat goes through, Sergio Perez goes through on the medium compound tyres, and we've got gravel all over our tyres. We might as well come into the pit lane because these tyres aren't going to be up to the optimum temperature or operating window really with all this dirt on them for a good few laps. So we're going to come in, ditch them, put the super softs on. We just about slow down in time, but what on earth happened there between ourselves and Lewis Hamilton? We had a bit of a moment, but you can see Hamilton just completely outbrakes himself, uses us as a brake, and I suppose in terms of karma he breaks his front wing, so he's going to lose 7 seconds in the pit lane by changing his front wing. We though are now into the pit lane, putting on the super softs. Daniel Kvyat has jumped us. Obviously there's a McLaren in the pit lane, but we managed to get back ahead of Lewis Hamilton because of his front wing change. Obviously that completely ends our hopes of staying ahead of Verstappen and Rosberg, who tried the undercut on us, because we've just lost an extra 5 seconds to them by taking a trip through the gravel. On to lap 18 though, you can see we're on much superior tyres than Nico Hülkenberg and the Force India in front of us. Both of the Force Indias deciding to go onto the medium tyres after the safety car, and you can see that we've lunged up the inside there of Hülkenberg. Just superior grip, superior tyre life. Jenson Button's in the pit lane as well. Carlos Sainz in the pit lane, not Jenson Button there. He was coming off the soft tyres, so he was on the same strategy as us. However, Perez and Button and Hülkenberg were going for the mediums, but even Button hasn't been able to stretch his mediums until it started raining. You can see there are a few spots on the screen, so maybe Button should have just carried on, even though the tyres were dead, and waited for it to start raining. Now again, you can see on lap 20 it's raining again. This is the light rain that you saw on the forecast when it came to the forecast at the start when we were looking at the race strategy. We haven't yet got to the heavy rain or monsoon conditions, but this is certainly light rain, and we're struggling already here on these super softs. Kevin Magnussen is out of the race as well, according to that little indicator at the top of the screen. So that's another nightmare for Kevin Magnussen, yet another retirement for him and the pit crew as we come past the start-finish line are saying they're going to want to change strategy, and would you believe it, they're wanting to change onto the inters. They waited until I got round the final corner to tell me to come into the pit lanes. We're now going to do an extra lap on tyres that aren't suited for the track conditions. We are up into P4, might I add, as well. We're actually having a very decent race. Verstappen is leading, Rosberg's up there as well, Kvyat is in third. Obviously due to the issues for Massa and Raikkonen, we managed to overtake them. Lewis Hamilton broke his front wing, so we're ahead of him. Not by too much, he's sort of sat behind us. Vettel and Ricciardo are sort of trying to recover through the race. Hülkenberg and Perez are still behind us, same for Alonso, Button and all the rest. So after all the incidents and issues for everyone else, we actually still find ourselves in P4 despite our trip through the gravel. Onto the intermediate tyres we go, and you can see how wet it's got in a very short space of time. The heavy rain I think is already falling because it's gone from dry conditions to light rain conditions very, very quickly indeed. On to lap 24, and we've now got Lewis Hamilton harassing us from behind. Hopefully if he's going to make a clean move, he can actually make a flipping clean move this time. Into the hairpin, we're edging him a little bit wide. He's still got his nose around the outside, but we do hold on to the position in the end ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Obviously he's in that Mercedes, we're in a Renault, we have far less speed than him. The only reason we're ahead of him is because of superior strategy during the safety car period, and because of his front wing change as well. You can see though that we're really struggling for grip. This is what happened, in Hungary as well. We were really struggling for rear end grip. I think the patch has made it a lot more difficult now, especially in Inter's conditions. Heading on to lap 25 though, Hamilton's got a really poor exit out of the final corner. We're thinking of a move up the inside, we duck out of it in the end. See Hamilton getting through because of that mistake from ourselves, drifting through the first corner. We thought about a move up the inside of Hamilton, we weren't quite alongside enough to make that move, and unfortunately we weren't close enough down the back straight. On to lap 25, we've still got Hamilton in front of us. Sergio Perez, our rival, is behind us. We're still running in P5, which is a pretty decent result though. For now, we've got a yellow flag. We've got Lewis Hamilton's engine blowing up in front of us, directly in front of us. Lewis Hamilton is out of this Grand Prix, and it was looking tragic, to be quite honest with you, even for Sebastian Vettel. And suddenly it has all become, it's all fine and dandy again. It's blue skies in the world of Sebastian Vettel, despite the horrendous weather here in Germany. Lewis Hamilton is out of the Grand Prix with an engine blowout again for the second race in a row. Meanwhile, you can see how heavily it's raining at this point. We're coming in for full wets. The crew have told me that it's wet conditions, although the pace on the Inters seemed still alright, to be quite honest with you. We just about get the car slowed down for our fourth pit stop of the day, I do believe. From the Inters onto the wets, the Inters are done again, would you believe? We've had two Inters phases in this race, and the second Inters phase is done already. A 2.1 second pit stop, a lovely pit stop from the boys. Sebastian Vettel, though, deciding to stay out, and everyone else around us actually deciding to stay out. Whether it's too late in the race for the AI to want to come in, we've got Carlos Sainz on our left-hand side. He's still on Inters. We, though, are on these full wets. We'll now use this as a little bit of a gauge to see whether the full wets are the best tyres to be on. We seem to have good traction, but Carlos Sainz seems to as well. Later on into the lap, you can see the amount of time that we actually managed to gain on Carlos Sainz, just cooling down the tyres a little bit. A lot of cars in the pit lane. We move up to P5 as Daniel Ricciardo goes in for full wets, but on to lap 31, and the first four still haven't come in, including Fernando Alonso, who's clearly trying something very different. We've gained 3 seconds on him in one lap, but it's still quite confusing because we've got monsoon conditions here. Full wet conditions. You'd expect Inters to be, well, a solid 10 seconds a lap slower in these conditions. It's been heavy rain, in game. It's been heavy rain for about 15 minutes at this point, for a solid 10 laps at least. And somehow the Inters are still giving out semi-decent pace. We did manage to pass Fernando Alonso pretty comfortably the next lap on to lap 32, and later on to lap 33, we gapped him by about 2 seconds, but on to the final lap. And Nico Rosberg, Nico Rosberg, Max Verstappen and Daniel Kvyat went to the end on Inters. You can see behind me Daniel Ricciardo's on wet, so clearly some of the AI, a solid sort of 80% of the AI thought, it's wet conditions, and so did I. And I don't really understand how there wasn't any sort of drop-off in terms of tyre compound, because, it had been literally heavy rain. You saw the icon at the start. We were predicting monsoon conditions, and the Inters were still coping with it absolutely fine without aquaplaning. But fair play to Rosberg, Verstappen and Kvyat. They did one less pit stop. I was expecting to be catching them really at about a rate of 10 seconds a lap. However, we do come across the line for P4, having passed Fernando Alonso in the closing stages, who was also on those intermediate tyres, and it is yet another very, very solid result here in this series. It's another bit of decently good luck, to be honest with you, without the issues for Massa, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Vettel, who got a penalty as well during the race. We probably wouldn't have finished P4. We get that good slice of luck, and we do finish 4th in the end. It was a win, though, for Nico Rosberg, so that's 2 on the bounce after a shocking first half of the season. He's really on the comeback trail. He's on 50 out of 50 now in terms of points for the last 2 races. Verstappen was P2. It's another podium for Kvyat. Well played to him in P3. We came 4th from Ricciardo. Alonso, good strategy from him. Then Vettel, Perez, Massa and Button rounding out the top 10. Sainz in 11th. Some problems for Raikkonen. He ended up P12. Hülkenberg, who had car issues later in the race, he was 13th in front of both of the Haas machines. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, though, after that race, it is Sebastian Vettel who extends his lead in the championship again due to the DNF for Lewis Hamilton, who stays second in the championship at 72 points now behind Sebastian Vettel. Then it's Verstappen. Rosberg's up to P4 after that win for him. Ricciardo P5. Kvyat goes above his teammate Sainz and Kimi Raikkonen up into 6th in the championship. We maintain 9th ahead of Alonso, Alonso and Perez in 11th. Then it's the two Williams cars who've had absolutely shocking seasons so far, and Kevin Magnussen is still sat in, I think, 18th or 19th position in the championship. And in terms of the Constructors' Championship, we are the only team to move upwards. We've gone above Williams into P6 in the Constructors' Championship, but apart from that, it is all the same. It's very close around us actually in the Constructors' Championship, about 10 or 15 points, covering 4 teams at the moment. McLaren, Force India, ourselves, and then Williams as well, all covered by like 15-20 points. So very close for 5th in the Constructors' Championship. You can see the resource points that we've got there in the background off the back of that race. But I hope you've enjoyed that episode of F1 2016 Career Mode. Another very solid result, ridiculous changeable conditions, and a very, very impressively interesting race, entertaining race, whatever the circumstance. As we've seen with a lot of the races this season, a lot of the races have been really, really entertaining, or I hope so for you guys. Anyway, if you did enjoy the video though, feel free to hit the likes button, subscribe if you're new around here as well, and comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much. But it's been a pleasure ranting to you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.